Now the second week of the Overwatch League has started, it has become pretty obvious what the dominant comp of the entire stage is going to be. It's goats. But while Twitch chat is complaining about the amount of goats we've seen, there are some people that actually argue that the meta is quite diverse. I mean, it is true, we have seen quite an amount of different heroes played already in the first week. We have also seen some triple DPS or quad DPS that seem to take care of goats pretty well. Now in a recent stream, Jane said that he thought there was enough counterplay in the meta right now. And he recommended his viewers just to look at the Nepal game between the Dallas Fuel and the San Francisco Shock of last week. So, let's actually do that. At the start of Village, we see the Dallas Fuel roll out with a GOATS composition, but the Shock is playing a heavy DPS composition. Now, the Dallas Fuel spots this, and they quickly swap back to a highly mobile dive composition right here. Now, the Shock's Pharah spots this fairly early, and the entire San Francisco Shock moves back to spawn, and they quickly swap to GOATS, even though they give up the point. Now, the San Francisco Shock is going to come back and fairly easily win the fight here. This basically forces the Dallas Fuel to swap to GOATS themselves afterwards, which we will see. Jane is trying to point something out with this round. We saw quite a lot of swaps in the beginning for a few seconds. He is trying to point towards the so-called circle of counters in the current meta. Poke compositions counter GOATS. The Pharah here points out the poke since she's almost always in the poke comp. But the poke comp themselves get countered by dive. But then the GOATS compositions counter the dive comp again. That should be clear enough, right? Well, in this situation, yes, but why doesn't the Dallas Fuel retake the point with their own poke comp? This is where we see the biggest issue with GOATS. The reason why the Shock's poke comp forced Dallas Fuel to switch off of GOATS was mainly just because the Dallas Fuel was not on point yet. This meant that if they would have taken the fight, the Pharah and Hammond could easily punish the GOATS if they would have to walk through the open space towards the point. However, when the Shock is on GOATS, they already have the point. And trying to remove this health pool from the point is really hard. It definitely isn't impossible, but it just takes a lot of time. An example of this we can see in the match between the Philadelphia Fusion and the Florida Mayhem. In the last round of Anubis, they only need to get a third of the point. But they try to attack with a quad DPS with almost 2 minutes left. Yeah, the Philadelphia Fusions makes a couple of mistakes on this attack, but you do still clearly see Florida Mayhem's GOAT composition struggle with the insane amount of damage they are dealing. The problem is, it just simply takes way too long, and eventually the map draws. So, while a quad DPS can work, it is just too inconsistent and slow, meaning the only real way to deal with a GOATS comp that is defending is to just run a GOATS comp yourself. This means that even if teams start the match with some really unique compositions and different heroes, it will eventually always fall back to a GOATS mirror match. And that is exactly the biggest flaw with this meta. No matter how beautiful the counters you can come up with, at the end of the day, we will always end up with a GOATS mirror match. Now finally, I would like to thank you for watching. This is the first video I've done in this format, so I apologize if it seems very amateuristic. I will definitely try to do a little bit more of this in the future. And yeah, what do we always say? Like and subscribe, I guess. Bye bye.